Okay, so I have a lot of super skinny serum in her hair, but since in the past when I've worked with her hair, it's pretty textured, I'm just gonna add a little bit more just in case. And I'm hoping her hair dries nice and smooth. We'll just have to see. Okay. All right, so as I blow dry a bob, so because I'm gonna be doing a lot of finishing, a lot of correcting, checking the design line, I know that my client most likely isn't gonna be at home with several different size brushes, but when I'm doing this first initial blow dry, I wanna make sure that I'm using the appropriate size brush for the section of hair that I'm working on. So as I'm working on this bottom length, I'm gonna use a much smaller brush, like either of these sizes, as I get that shape the way I want to. As the hair gets longer, I'll go to a bigger size, even something like this through here. And then as I get to the top, I can do an even larger brush, or I can stick with that medium one. I'm just not gonna curl it around the hair as much. My goal is to get this hair extremely smooth with just a blow dry and not having to use the flat iron, so that I can easily go through and layer it, texture it, finish it, and then I have the options afterwards. If I want to use the flat iron, I can, or I can curl it. And so if I leave it to where it's just blow dried, I have the options to do anything else at the end. So I want to get her hair as smooth as possible. So we're going to start by rough drying the hair to 75 to 85% dry. If there are any major cowlicks that you're dealing with, you can work on those a little sooner. But your goal is just to get it nice and smooth. I'm gonna always make sure I'm closing down the cuticle as I'm working. Okay, once I have it dry enough, I'm going to section an inch above the ear or so. It doesn't need to be super precise. I'm gonna actually use my clip to help me. I'm gonna dip down a little bit so I can get nice and close to her hairline. And I'm gonna section this up with a couple different clips. And I'm gonna go up on this side. Okay, and now we're gonna start with that smaller brush right on the back hairline. Let's see. And I'm gonna roll down towards the bottom and try to get that as smooth as possible. And I want to be blow drying that in the shape that I'm trying to create with that design line. If this is too much hair, they have very thick hair, they have a very difficult hairline, feel free to section this out even more and really open up that area there so you can get in there and see it. By rolling down, I usually can get this to lay pretty much the way I want to. So I'm trying to catch all that hair as I'm rolling that down her head. So starting here and then rolling down. And lifting some of these longer pieces up just so I can see what I'm doing there. Okay, so now as I'm happy with that, we're gonna move on to a little bit of a bigger size. And I know this seems excessive, but I promise this will make a difference in the way you style it and the way you're able to finish it. And some people will purchase different size combs at home when they see you doing this, and it will help them with their styling of it at home as well. Okay, So once I've got this area done, I'm going to tip her up a little bit so that I can work on the side. On the side, I'm going to do a little bit of a bigger brush here because I want this shape to all come down to the same point. And if I do curl too much around a smaller brush, it's not going to have that flow that you're looking for in a bob. It's going to look very like under. And I'm going to brush towards her face and away from her face. And I'm really just looking for these shapes to come together really nice. And let's do the other side. Back, going forward. I'm not rolling that hair up into the brush. I want it to all come down at a very similar angle. And I'm done. Don't worry if at this point you don't love the angle it's all coming down into. You're going to be having plenty of time to correct that. Okay, so before we move up the side of the head, we're gonna bring this hair down here so that it's not curving down anymore. And I don't like to have any breaks the way I parted that there. If that starts to dry and wants to split, it needs to be wet back down or it's gonna affect your final result. So I'm hoping that it's wet enough still. We'll see what it does. And because I see that splitting, I'm gonna go ahead and resection through there. Now that I'm just working in the longer hair, I don't want that splitting through there. That's gonna affect my final style. So I wanna comb that out of the way, or comb that to break it, and then I'll section it up. And that should be better. Okay, I'm still able to use that same size brush. Now we're going to let down the next section. Let down of roughly an inch should be good. Make sure if you're working on a client that you adjust the chair so that you're not having to lift your arms too much above your heart. So let that client down in the chair a little bit so that you're not having to elevate your arms. So what we're going to do, there we go. I'm going to start in the back again, try to break where I originally had that sectioned and splitting. And my goal is not necessarily to give myself a whole bunch of volume right now because I still have so much hair cutting to do. I just want this to be nice and smooth so that it's easy to run my scissors through. Okay, so once I have that nice and smooth, I'm gonna let down the next section. An inch here, an inch back through here, and an inch through here. That leaves us with that horseshoe shaped section in the top that we'll be able to blow dry at the very end. Let's get that a little cleaner. Okay. And I think that I'm okay using this size brush, but if you feel like it's giving it too much of a bend, definitely move to a larger brush. That's totally fine. I'm just gonna come up at a curve and I'm not gonna really roll it in there. I'm just gonna create just a little bit of a bend there. Okay, and now we're gonna let down the top. once we have that all nice and smooth and dry, we're gonna move on to the next step, which will be establishing the layers of this haircut.